some of the skills you learn in hostels, and many other skills which you have to learn on your own. You have to find the way to learn. And if you are able to learn, then of course you are able to succeed. And if you don't learn, then you're not able to succeed. So they will also highlight some of these. And we will have a Q&A session at the end of both the talks. So we will first start the two talks, and then after that we'll have Q&A session. And just to let you know that this is first formal departmental seminar, and we plan during this semester to have several such departmental seminars. So to introduce the speakers one by one and invite them to the seminar, I would hand over to Abhishek, who is our PhD student in Civil Engineering Department. I also want to mention a few other names. There is Dr. Prakash Badal, who recently completed his PhD from IIT Bombay. He is going to be conducting the Q&A session. And we have a few other highly responsible senior students also over here, including the CEA secretary, Shantanu is there, and a few others. And from time to time, you will be hearing them or hearing from them through emails and WhatsApp chats. And it would be good for you to become familiar with them if you are not so far. Avnish, request you to get started. I welcome both the speakers who readily agreed to give the talk. Hemant Gaur, who completed his MTech from IIT Bombay, and Abhishek Sanyal, who completed his dual degree BTech and MTech from IIT Bombay, and both of them in the relatively recent past. So you're not talking about people of the generation of the 1980s or 1990s in this story. You are talking about people who are just a few years senior to you. So Abhishek, Avnish, please go ahead.
Thank you, Professor Sinha. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, our speakers. To start with, we were talking about it with our master's students just a couple of days ago. And the idea clicked if we could organize such a seminar where some professional engineers from this field, professional entrepreneurs, talk about their own experiences to our students. Professor Sinha already shed much light on it, so I will, without much delay, uh, introduce our first speaker today, who is engineer Hemant Gaur, and he's 2000 batch masters from our institute, IITB, and presently he is principal structural engineer at Petrofac International Limited, Sharjah, UAE. He is an approved structural engineer for unlimited floors in Dubai municipality. And he has worked on design and concept of several tall buildings. Uh, he was part of design team of Lighthouse Tower, which has 64 stories and is 402 meters high. He has developed philosophy for blast resistant design of modular buildings. And he was technical specialist for Cyclin Energy OPF2 compression, Russia. And he was also involved in revamping of our own power reactor fuel recharge facility at Tarapur, Maharashtra. He has received Petrofac prestigious 2012 award, Energy, Value and Excellence Award for his innovative contribution to Turkmen gas project. He was a key member of IITB relief mission to Kutch earthquake. And one thing he especially we would like to mention that his talk on tall building was appreciated by William Bill Baker, who is a structural engineer of Burj Khalifa. And he would like to introduce himself as simply curious, committed, and continuous learner. So without delay, Engineer Hemant Gaur.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Avnish and Professor Ravi Sinha. I learned 3C at IIT Bombay campus: curiosity, courage, and continuous learning. When I left campus, Dr. Ravi Sinha informed, one thing, Hemant, you should remember, you will remain always student, and that attitude will take you to further high. With this 3C, I would now present the 7-step journey which the bright students who will come out of the campus should take in first 4 years. I would share my presentation now.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you. So the first step to start any a business, I consider it as a team. In structural engineering, we learned if you want to span 5 meters, 7 meters, you go for a beam. But if your dream are big, like 100 meters span bridge or 500-meter tall building, the only scheme which works is a truss, where all the fibers are stressed equally. Not like a beam, where only extreme fiber is getting stressed. So when you are learning at a campus, you build a team with whom, when you come out, you will collab, you will work together and will serve. And I strongly believe we have a dream to go, like once you start your professional career, you will start receiving call from client, vendor, authority. And you will be spending good time once, and you don't want to get disturbed for that time. And when you have a partner, that partner will take care with clients and authority. So first step, form a team. Don't make journey alone. You should find a member who has a complementary skill. If you are good at creating calculation, analytical modeling, find a teammate who is good at running around to bring projects. To narrate a story of a team, I would take example. I'm not here to market any organization, but I would say ICT, one of the leading consultant, there 3 engineers came together. They decided, okay, we want to provide quality, timely service, and cost-effective solution. And that is the ICT organization. Another organization which was established in 1969, 3 graduates who came out from one of the leading university in West Bengal. And now that firm has been taken over by Jacobs, leading structural consulting firm who built Burj Khalifa, SOM. Here also the 3 bright minds came together and they begin their journey. So the first step, never start your journey alone. Make a team and take your first step. And the best time I was telling about, like when you are on honeymoon, you don't want to get disturbed with your client and you don't want to make unhappy your client. The second step, which help you to find the right information within a shortest time, become a professional when you are like university. This all professional institute, they have free students membership, and for first 3 years out of college, the fees are nominal. So take membership, students membership of these professional bodies, the Institution of Structural Engineers. Once you become a member, you have access to infinite technical papers where you will find what was a structural form, quantities, challenges and how they came out of that challenges. Indian Association of Structural Engineers, IGS, IIB, ICE, and AISC. What will be your deliverable? When we, as a structural engineers, we start organization, our deliverables are bill of quantities. Nowadays, most of the projects are on design build. Design build, the client has a department design and he calls a contractor to bid based on their design. So if we have 10 contractors, the 10 contractors will be running to find 10 competitive consultants to give them alternative bid winning proposal. So now you have more chances of getting assignment. So you have to come up with alternative cost-effective solution. Detailed project report, conceptual design, front-end engineering design report. And once the contractor wins the job, he has to build. And to build, he requires drawing. So now consultant comes into picture to develop detailed calculation report and drawing. He has to take approval from a third party, which we call project management consultant. Sometimes, like when we begin our journey, we can take a small assignments from a big consultants or a big contractors on part analysis or component FEM analysis, temporary work design, connection design, design for temporary works, which plays key role in transferring the drawing into real life structure. Temporary work design has value in Middle East and Europe. Project management consultancy services. Once you become mature as a consultant, you can jump into this journey where you provide consultancy service to a client. Client wants to finalize a contractor. So you review contractor's technical capability. You find a matrix and give marking based on technical and commercial. Fabrication drawing and 3D BIM modeling. So we covered step 3. Now we will jump little bit on how to win design build project. Keep your eyes and ear open when you learn about some projects, presentation, and that will open many opportunities. At IIT Bombay, I was fortunate to work with Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation, whose CEO at that time, P.L. Bongirwar, was alumni of IIT Bombay. So like this is way you will get help from your seniors, alumni. And he had given a scholarship for IIT Bombay students. Working at MSRDC, I came in contact with a bridge engineer from HNTB. And he was explaining the concept of the 250-meter, two-span symmetric cable stayed bridge. The biggest cost in cable stayed bridge, like the biggest cost component comes from stay cable. And the last cable we call a stay cable. It consumes the highest steel. So if we optimize, if we find a structural solution which will reduce steel or eliminate this backstay, then your proposal will be the winning proposal. So it had a two-span symmetrical expansion, like this is an expansion joint and here expansion joint at 500 meter. What they did, minor modification. What we learn in structures, we have a simply supported beam and simply supported with overhang. When you make overhang, you are bringing negative moment and this one. So by shifting the expansion joint from this location to next, the stay cable was completely eliminated. So I noted down this concept. And while working on my real life project, 3 years later, we had to do one concept design for India's leading contractor, Afcons. I saw the scheme. It had unsymmetrical 115/85. I remembered HNTB engineers' wisdom. Spoke to that time our leader, C.R. Alim Chandani. We applied this concept and we won the job. So whatever we learn, fundamentals at campus, that will going to help you during your job. And keep your eyes and ears open. Read. You will find what made the structure economical. So with this scheme, we applied. And the second, like I will just give you approximate cost, which I remember cost by Afcon was around 20 crore. And the second competitors, they were around 30 crore. So the difference was around 10 crore. And this is the final project completed. I was not during detailed design of this, as I took another job that time. So step 4, have a strong faith in basics which you learn today at campus. Because as I remember Steve Jobs' speech, you can always connect dot backward. So whatever you learn today, it is going to be useful when you execute job tomorrow. To reinforce this idea about learning, like we learn different subjects. We fall in love with some subjects and we hate some subjects. In hydraulics, we learn the hydraulic loss is proportional to hydraulic radius, A over P, area over weighted perimeter. This was a job in year 1995-96 for UP Jal Nigam to take water from UP to Delhi, around 29-kilometer journey, 270 cubic. It had this sketch shows a department design which was given to the contractor to quote. And at that time, contractor, National Building Construction Company, Government of India Company, NBCC. They approached Stoop Consultant to give economical solution. And the original design was a box section. The box section changed to circular section because circular section has less hydraulic radius. And the original design, we can see it is a 24-meter simply supported. And when we make a simply supported with overhang, we reduce our bending moment. And same 24-meter was readjusted by keeping, we learn when we want to lift pile, we lift at L over 5 distance because that will have uniform like sagging moment and hogging moment same. And the as I said, the engineer explained the contractor, since you have to build this 9 kilometer, you have to build many pieces. So if you make one formwork, then you have to just copy paste. And the steel consumption was a minimum due to circular configuration. Step 5. Focus on future. What is going to come up in future? As I see today, future is about sustainable energy. During my time, we had a power project based on coal, nuclear. But tomorrow is about wind energy, offshore wind farm design. So learn skills which are required to execute this type of job. As we know, like offshore wind farm has a many structural steel components. We call high voltage AC substation, high voltage DC substation. So when you empower yourself with a new skill set, which will be required to solve this complex problem, you will have a job of, you can win new clients. The sixth step, how to, in the first step, we found we need a trust. So we have team together. So which is the best instrument to come together and deliver service to client? Limited liability partnership, which is termed LLP, is nowadays a common between, when you, in limited liability partnership, you don't have to return tax. Private limited company, you have to audit. Sorry, I did mistake. It is not return tax, audit. You don't have to perform audit. But in private limited company, to perform audit, minimum cost every year will come around 15 to 16,000. And further detail, you can explore from taxguru.in. What I learned, when you form a private limited company, you can give ESOP to your team members, and they will also contribute wholehearted to your projects, because nowadays we don't work just between 8 to 5. We keep thinking while eating, while sleeping. So the job profiles have changed. So when you create a private limited company, you have opportunity to shares with your team members. Partnership is not, it will not take you long. If you want to go alone or with two, then the partnership concept. Now, the final, some tips which I found useful during my journey. We always depend on Mrs. Google. Why I call Mrs. Google? Because when you ask one question, it gives not one, but infinite answers. So ask with a clue. So if I want to find out drawings or codes related to railway standards, then I will put site RDSO, which is Railway Design Standard Office, rdso.gov.in, site in, and I will get information at my fingertips. And clue like file type, XLS, if you want to find out vendors, suppliers, so such you can perform smart search. And the final step 7, technology is rapidly changing, and having sound fundamentals of the subject is very important. If you have a strong fundamentals, you can learn new tools, because tools are just devices which will help you to make your job easy. But most important thing is fundamental. So keep faith on fundamentals and keep updated with the technology. This I will bring again the old technology to build a floor slab, flat jack floor. During my visit, I had a technical assignment in Russia, and I captured this picture. Brick bed with a flat slab. Here, the reinforcement consumption is close to nil. So can we apply the same concept in today's context? Yes, by creating a precast panels or metal deck seat using, like we have fly ash available. So precast 3 centimeter, 2.5 centimeter thickness plank and pour concrete on top of it. And you can see the amazing floor which you can give to your client, architect, and he will love. This I have taken from Christopher Banninger, one of the leading architect of India, modern architecture of India book. Like when he was starting his consultancy firm in Pune, he went back to basic, back to fundamentals, what he learned while he was studying in US, flat arch slab for a building, and he applied for his office, and it looks amazing. He is proud of it. So keep faith on fundamentals. Like what was old, you can still apply today by doing minor modification. As I learned, innovation is about combining two different innovation. It can happen like you have two different innovations, you bring together and you have a new path forward. So the 3C, which are close to my heart, which we civil engineers stand for, we create, collaborate, and we are conflict resolver. So if you keep the 3C, like you want to begin your journey to deliver quality, to deliver on time deliverables, and sustainability, a cost effective, you think about material, you don't want to consume all the steel, all the concrete for tomorrow. You want to keep for generations coming forward. So the 3C which helped me in my journey: curiosity, commitment, and continuous learning. So keep these three and you will be winning jobs. You will be delivering a best service to your client. And today we need an infrastructure which is not so aesthetic, but we want to build a better. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Gaur. It was really very, you really collected things from your stay at IITB, what you learned at campus, and what you have seen outside in the built environment. You connected and gave us in 7 concise steps. You conveyed it to our students, our different students across the spectrum. So we will come to, I am sure students will have questions from your presentation, but we have decided to keep it at the end of entire session. On experiences, how you established yourself in the design fraternity. Now it's time for Prakash will moderate the discussion between students and both the speakers, Mr. Gaur and Mr. Sanyal. So Prakash.
Yeah, thanks, Avnish. It seems like my life is very easy. There are no questions as of now in the chat box. So I'm hoping that people will ask questions directly. So the floor is open for questions. You can ask. I don't think we need to ask people to raise their hands.
They can.
That will be desirable if that happens. But so anyone who has any questions can just unmute themselves and ask. Okay, I see a question in the chat box from KS. What are your cost of operation?
Abhishek.
Any one of the speakers can take the question. Maybe this is too general, so maybe both of you can take it. So the question is, what are your cost of operation?
I'd like to take this one. In terms of a consultancy, now we do the design of bridges and flyovers. Our main cost is our human capital. So what we generally pay, what is our most biggest cost component is actually our salaries that we pay out to our team members, and some amount of cost goes into the office rent and our hardware and software costs, right? So now, of course, it depends on what kind of projects you are doing. Then that becomes a percentage of cost, as in what is the profit percentage is highly variable depending on the type of project that we are executing. I cannot give you a figure because this figure is highly volatile depending on the team size. But the main cost happens to be the salaries of the people.
Right. So there is another question. How do you recruit your staff, permanent or temporary? Is it on job basis, or do you have staff permanently?
Permanent, you create a bond, you create trust. Say, as Abhishek, his journey he told, you want to deliver on time, you want to deliver quality. So that will come with, like in Indian culture, we believe permanent, like people wants to assure about tomorrow. So that assurance only comes with the permanent. But as we are moving now on online platform, what we were doing in past was different. So today, like if you start a new journey, to ensure our operating cost is minimum, as Abhishek rightly said, the main part, like a contributor is a human capital. So when we start, then taking on a hourly basis or giving drawings to the experts who are taking job on a part-time basis or on an assignment basis. So like long term permanent will be the good, but as you begin, you can think about getting job done from temporary.
Like I would like to add one more thing on this. I think what Hemant said about trust is absolutely vital, because what happens is when you have a permanent employee or a permanent team member, what that makes you is culturally cohesive, so that you have one single purpose from of your company, that is to deliver a certain amount of quality at a certain amount of time. You can build that culture once you have members of the team who feel that they are members of the team. You cannot have that from independent contractors or individual team members who are working on the clock. That does not help in building a kind of cohesive thought or cohesive culture within the team.
So please feel free to ask questions. It could be very basic for you, but maybe it's important for.
There is one hand raised, I say.
There is, yeah. Devesh has raised his hand. Devesh, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Good evening, sir. My question is that as we have seen that for any specialization in any of the design consultancy, let it be the buildings or power plants or industrial structures, and when it comes for selecting the team members, should we go for the same specialization of team members, or it would be recommendable if we plan beforehand of any two design consultancy and we select team members in that way only?
Well, it depends on projects you want to pick up, right? If you want to pick up bridge projects, then having a building expert as your co-founder makes no sense, right? Then you should only have bridge designer as your co-founder. Now, if you want to become a multidisciplinary company from the get-go, then it makes sense to have two different uh, experts as co-founders. But then what happens is you are diluting your brand value. As a multidisciplinary, basically what happens is a multidisciplinary company becomes de facto expert in none, right? Either you're expert in one thing or you're a jack of all trades. That is how people see the world, right? So what happens is if you have multiple experts, of course, it makes sense to go for a multidisciplinary company where you have a set number of products, not just a single product, but a set number of products, then it makes sense to have two different experts as co-founders. Otherwise, it will always make sense to have a single focus in your co-founders.
Abhishek,
Thank
I
you, sir.
want to extend that question. So let us say that one of the co-founders does have varied experience, and you are really getting a project which is not, part of, which is not at the core of your central theme of the company. So you outright decline it. I mean, it sounds like a very trap kind of project. So how do you go about it? Because that is definitely true for Force, right?
Yeah, so because a few of my co-founders are actually experts in during their job, they were experts in offshore engineering.
Right.
They were analyzing and designing topsides and jackets for oil rigs. But right now we don't do any of that. Now the point of it is that industry itself is a very different kind of industry as compared to bridge designing, oil industry or designing for oil. Now for us to focus our energies there would take, split our focus from what we are doing right now. So we, the four of us, took a combined decision to focus all of our energies on this particular field and not bother about the rest. Once we are sure that we are a well-established working organism that is perfectly capable of delivering any kind of bridge projects, then we can go and look at any other kind of specialization. The market is large enough to absorb all of us for that matter. So there is no issue of project dearth. You can always get better projects. If you cannot deliver them, or if you cannot give it the right amount of energy or right amount of focus, then you are only going to degrade your name in the future. So it is again a personal decision as to what kind of company you want to build and what kind of energy you can dispense, or what kind of focus you can deliver to your client. It will depend on that. We just took a decision that we'll focus all of our energy on one field.
I see another hand raised. Case,
No,
you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
he's not here.
Case,
There are lots of questions on the chat box, no?
I have asked almost all of them. They're part of one long question about hiring permanent or temporary staff, which
I have one question actually. I will raise hand and ask question.
you can go ahead, Avnish, because
So this is different for me also, this talk, because we in academia have get less opportunity to interact with outside professionals who are actually working in. And presently in my mind, it seems that knowledge of law, Professor Sinha is here and in charge of course engineering law, and it is an institute elective. Students from entire college, entire institute can take that course. I just wanted to ask, in your professional career, you felt, had you taken this course, you felt need of that knowledge of law was lacking, or it helped you sometime? It should be essential. To my knowledge, at all of IITs, only IITB conducts such a course. So importance of law for an engineer. If there is an example, that is even better. So please shed light.
So, Avnish, to answer your question, the Institution of Structure Engineers, ISTRUCT, one of their core objective is law. Like knowledge of law will help you when you come, like in India, since we don't have Engineers Act in abroad, like US, Western country, there is Engineers Act. In India, we have only chartered accountants. So CA, company secretary. So to say like, and Indian engineers, they will be serving to international clients. So learning about these subjects will add value. And as you told, it is elective. So it is up to a student to take or not. But it will all add a value.
Any personal experience from either of the engineers where they really felt that this knowledge, this field saved them, or this field supported? And law is for entire. When they introduce it in the class, they say that it is essential for mankind. Law is essential for mankind. So did you feel in your professional career that it was required there and it saved you? It kind of backed up you?
So I would mention that I have actually undergone engineering law course in 2010. I think that was the year it was started, or a couple of years back it was started. And I remembered that course because afterwards, every work order that we got from our client, we have to read it through right before signing it. Every contract agreement that we make with any of our clients or any of my teammates that I am employing, all of those, we have to go through those sections of the law in terms of what is our liability. Now, most of the problems are generally not solved by law itself. They are generally solved by interpersonal relationships. You talk to your client if there is a disagreement, and it generally gets sorted out. Law generally comes into play when you have a big client who is fighting the government somewhere. In terms of that point, what happens is they sometimes rely on their consultants for certain amount of legal backing. They would want that, okay, we were right in our own design approach, our construction approach. We might have to back them up somewhat, but it is not prima facie our role. It is the role of the company lawyers, but it always helps for you to understand, for a consultant, for any kind of engineer to understand his or her legal liability and the legal liability of all the companies and institutions that are in the chain of construction. So then you will get to know that, okay, these people are liable for this, they are responsible for this, they are responsible for this. I have never had a exposure in which law was involved in any of my projects.
Okay.
And we can nowadays.
Shantanu, if you have a question.
No, Hemant wanted to add something.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
Say, like we see nowadays many structural failure, which are not due to engineering, due to maybe some other reason. So to make sure engineers, we don't come into a fault. So like little knowledge, it will be helpful. Awareness.
Can I ask a question to this young entrepreneurs?
Who is this?
This case over here.
Yeah, case, go ahead.
Yeah. So firstly, I would like to congratulate you for your venture. I would like to know what kind of consultancy you give exactly. Do you give only pertaining to some drawings? Do you give for project management? Do you give for manpower? Or you give for any and everything in civil engineering?
Is the question directed at me?
Yeah, I will keep on asking few more questions so that, you know, the August gathering is more clearer that what exactly, because I asked some question regarding what was your operation cost. So I'll be coming to that.
Okay. So what we do is we do the structural design of bridges, flyovers, and so and other associated viaduct structures. So what that exactly means is let's say we have a client, let's say L&T is there. They're doing the execution of Mumbai-Vadodara Expressway. Let's say package 1, right? Now, what we do is we come in, we study the contract documents, we study the contract drawings, and then we propose our structural solution. These are the bridges that need to be built. These are the span arrangements supported by the contract. We would like to economize this by changing the span arrangement to so on and so forth, so that it lies within the terms of the contract, whereas it is still the cheapest option for you to go with that. Once deliberation happens with the client, then we go into the detailed calculation and detailed report preparation and detailed drawing preparation. and then we go and get it approved from the government agency, whoever the government has appointed as the authority engineer in that particular project. Once
Okay.
it is approved, those drawings go to site, and the site then starts executing on those drawings. If
Okay. So
and when they come across any problems, then they come back to us. Then they say that this is our problem. We cannot do this. What you have suggested or what you have drawn here, this is something that is interfering with the work. Can you suggest something else? That point we go back to the drawing board. We look at what the problem is, how to solve it, and then we come up with another solution for that.
okay, then that makes sense for you having temporary employees, because
No, it doesn't.
uh,
No, it doesn't make any sense for us to have them.
because I, as a person who would like to give you a opportunity to work for me, would like to have permanent employees, because I
Yes.
don't know with whom, what kind of quality I will get for the next project. Like all your designs must be done in StatPro or something like that. So even though it is use of software, but then what kind of design I will be getting, what kind of quality I'll be getting, because at the end of the day, you will be doing some kind of cost analysis also, based on which your client will be taking into consideration whether should I go for the project or not. So
Yes.
that kind of cost analysis can be done only by a quantity surveyor who is like into the field for last 10-15 years.
Yeah, so
So
we don't have any quantity surveyors. We give the quantities to the client and let them work out the cost on their end. We
okay,
can
you
give
just
them
give
the
the design,
BOQs.
that's it.
We can, we give up to the drawings and BOQs as well.
Okay.
Sorry to interject, Case, but I think we should move on to other people who are asking questions. So, Shantanu, if you have a question, can you please unmute yourself and ask?
Yes, sir. So I wanted to ask that, like, what sort of dual degree projects or the MTech projects did you take up, and how helpful was it in your company, for your company?
Say, I took for my master's, I had taken a project on Cable State Bridge, and for my first 6-7 years of journey, it helped me. So your MTech projects will connect you to the first job.
Okay, my master's thesis was on seismic uh, seismic loads and seismic vulnerability of structures within the Mumbai zone. So what happens is that the basics that you learn when you are doing your master's thesis, that actually helps a lot in order for us to understand the subject much better and become better subject experts. My master's thesis did not have any direct impact on my work, but it helped me learn a lot of basics and clear a lot of basics that go into bridge designing in the future.
Yeah, your MTech project will help you to understand process. Like you will learn what is input, like what the software does, or what the parameters you should vary, and what will be your output. So like you do any like master's project, but you should learn the process and journey.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And sir, one more thing, for Abhishek, sir. So like your group of three to four student like friends, it was pre-decided to start a company. So like, did you beforehand decide that we'll work for 3 years, 3.5 years, and then meet up and then start a company, or like was it all like go like was it all with the flow? Like you gained the experience and
I
then.
understood your question. It was kind of like a flow. So whenever we were in the hostel, we would always think कि नहीं कुछ तो चालू करना है. Thoughts like that, they would come, but there was no structure behind it, or there was no formal agreement that nahi, we'll take 3 years, we'll take 5 years, or whatever. We just came to the realization that when we graduate, we are not ready to start a company because we don't know technical ins and outs of anything for that matter. That is my recommendation for everyone also. Unless you have your own intellectual property that you can play with, there is no sense making a company just when you graduate. You have to learn how the industry works and what the things are done and how they are done. So we also came to that realization once we were graduating. So we decided to get some experience. Now at that time we did not have an agreement ki 3 saal baad company chalu karta hai. But we always kept in touch. So over time, when we became sure that yes, this is the right time to start the company, then we went ahead and did it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Devesh, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. As we discussed that we should always have an eye on the future and what are the trends which are coming pertaining to our industry. We should have an eye on that. So can you please suggest some of the upcoming trends which we must be aware of so that that would help us?
So Devesh, the future is about sustainable power generation, wind energy. Already, like in India, we are doing a solar power project and like concentrated solar power plants, CSP they call, which was concept developed by a structural engineer, Schleich, Bergerman and partner. Wind energy and solar energy. Like we are working in nuclear energy, also a reliable source of energy. So these are the three.
There's a lot of work on intelligent systems, intelligent cities, smart cities, intelligent transport systems. In maybe 10 years from now, Hyperloop will be just as common as metros are as today. So these are fields that will definitely have a lot of development in transportation, I would say. Maglevs, these are technologies which has a 15 to 20 years of horizon period.
And there is add, say, like nowadays, the municipality, they charge based on meter reading, but future will be SCADA based, where from the central control building, all the supply of water, electricity will be controlled. So you don't have to go to the place to read the reading. So yes, as Abhishek told, smart city, that will be future. Like next 10 years, we can see where everything will be controlled from one place. Instrumentation.
And one more question, sir. There is a general notion that for a particular project, the contractor who is involved is more profitable than an engineer. Is it true? And would you like to focus?
See, he's putting more money. Like he's putting, tell me, like if you do partnership, you put 2 rupees and another guys put 98%, 98 rupees. So who should take, like this we learn in our mathematics, 5th grade, 6th grade, say. So the profit will be shared based on that proportion. And like many IITian, I'm proud to say, like IITians, they don't have, and then like not only in a design field, they have done amazing with construction also. We have leading contractors who have their own construction firm, construction strengthening, rehabilitation work they do using glass fiber, reinforced polymers. So the IITians, they don't only design, they are building also, and they are building a quality product for a government.
I would like to add that construction happens to be a far more difficult challenge than design itself or engineering itself, because you need to have skill sets which you can't really learn in college. How to deal with people, how to manage your money, how to organize a 100 people organization right on this site, how to deal with other problems like, let's say, strikes and change in wages, and difficult government employees, difficult authorities. So that's a very, very different challenge, and a very in my opinion, it's a far more difficult problem than pure engineering. So of course, if they make more money, it's perfectly fine because they have put in more effort or taken more risk. It always boils down to risk. Whoever has taken the higher risk should get the higher money.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right. Does anyone else have any question? You can either raise your hand or unmute yourself. Well, I have a question. So when we design any structure, and let us say there's a fallout, there's some flaw, and the actual person, the employer who actually designed it is no more in the company. How do you decide the liability of that? Is it completely on the firm? Is it forever on the firm? Hemant pointed out earlier that India does not have very coded engineering law for engineers. We come under the purview of labor laws, which basically do not protect us as well as they do in other countries. So how does this fallout come on the companies? This can be answered by Abhishek or Hemant, or maybe both of them. So the liability of a fallout in a project falls completely on the company, or how do you go about it? Do you have
The contracts are so arranged that the final liability always happens to be with the contractor who is doing the execution.
Okay.
But anybody who has had their signature on the drawings and the documents also bear some amount of liability. Now, exactly how that liability is distributed depends on problem to problem and case by case, depending on where exactly the fault lied, because there are always going to be a fault finding commission set up when there is any issue. They will find out who are the liable people. If there is loss of life, then there is a criminal complaint also. If there is no loss of life, generally it's a civil complaint, and your liability is dependent on how your contract was framed.
Right. So how far does this go? What is the extent to which engineers can be held liable?
You can be jailed. You can be jailed.
Right.
Blacklisted. A consultant can be blacklisted. But
Right.
like we have found many consultants, they find way to like a begin journey with a new brand, new name, or under a new label, and they continue design. So
Right.
like your journey will still continue. Like I believe like the IITians who will design, they will never fall. They will put due diligence. Yeah.
Yeah, naturally. Right. So does anyone else have any question? If not, then I'll hand over the session to Anish. Anish, are you here?
Yes, I am here. So, so I am entitled. I have been asked to give vote of thanks to this gathering. So I would begin first by telling engineer both Mr. Sanyal and Mr. Gaur for readily agreeing to give this talk to students of his own alma mater. Students were also very keen to. Actually, today we had just before this session we came to know that some first year students have NSO classes. So in this COVID time, our first year students have not come to campus yet, and they have never seen the campus. We thought it would be, but some of them were for NSO classes. But it was a very good session for me, for everybody, from first year BTech student to a fourth year PhD student, and I'm sure it was for Prakash also, who has earned his PhD last year. Engineer Gaur, Mr. Gaur, he connected things from his, it was good to see handmade drawings in his presentation. He put it in very simple ways. His message was very pointed that this is the message I want to give you through these handmade drawings. And he took it in 7 steps. He made it in a concise form, his experience of 20 years. So it is though he has worked with many renowned engineers of the profession, but he was he came to our level, our background to convey his message to us. And Mr. Sanyal, he talked in breadth about his experience, about his practical learning, practical experiences. And I can see in listeners, in audiences, we have fellow PhD students, fellow masters, and new BTech students. And all of us were glued here till this entire session. So Professor Sinha is not here right now because of some, he had some minor operation yesterday, but he put this energy through us. Thank you to Meera ma'am. Thank you to undergrad students who helped us in coordinating with all the students, Shantanu, Harsh, and once again, thanks to entire audience and both the engineers. Thank you very much.
It was our pleasure.
Yes. Thank you.
All right then. Anish.
Yes, I will stop the recording and will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.